Star Wars 7x7 episode 2661. Today we're doing another What to Watch Now episode, and actually you may not want to bother because it is literally 1 second that we're going to be primarily talking about, and it has to do with another what if kind of scenario. Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. I'm kind of just making myself laugh because I don't think I've ever done an episode of What to Watch Now where I've come right out and said, yeah, maybe you won't want to watch it. It seems like an odd way to approach that whole kind of idea of a segment, but here we are. You know, you may not want to go to the trouble, and it may be easier just to listen to our conversation or check it out on the internet if you want to see it for yourself. Because naturally, of course, it's all over YouTube and whatnot. It's basically 1 second in the Marvel What If episode number 8. And the whole foofara that burst out around it a couple of weeks ago had to do with the fact that maybe Star Wars has been brought into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So let's set up all the parameters for this. First of all, we should probably establish a ground rule, which is that Kevin Feige, who is the head of Marvel Studios, has said that there will never be a Star Wars Marvel crossover, so there's no reason to think that anything major is going to come of this whole situation. So yeah, let's start with that at the foundation. And even in the old expanded universe, which is now Legends, we did an episode about this actually a couple of months ago, talking about non-canon material within Legends and the fact that Star Wars had its own what if scenario, when we talked about the wildest takeaways from the Star Wars what if, the Empire Strikes Back what if, and the Return of the Jedi what if under the Star Wars Infinities label. But even with all of the other non-canon continuity things that are listed on Wikipedia from the Legends time frame, nothing was ever published that was a Star Wars Marvel crossover. There were a couple of other ones, but yeah, definitely not a Marvel one. Nor a DC one for that matter, just to cover the bases. Okay, I think that's enough for us to approach the point that we are aiming for in this episode, which is that the Marvel What If cartoon series is a Marvel Cinematic Universe official series, right? Like when you look at the listing on Disney Plus, it is listed as part of Cinematic Universe Phase 4. So even though it's an animated thing, it's actually part of the whole storytelling situation. Now, the 8th episode of that is a meditation on the possibility of Ultron having won, I think back from Age of Ultron, the second Avengers movie. And what ends up happening is he gets into a battle with this all-powerful guy named the Watcher. I'm not too up on this stuff, but essentially what happens is Ultron is able to break through into some form of dimension where the Watcher exists, where the Watcher is able to see all these multiverses, all these variations on things that might have happened instead of what we all know as the quote-unquote canon timeline of things. And so Ultron, with all of the Infinity Stones and this guy, the Watcher, end up fighting, and they go crashing through different dimensions. And at 2318 in that episode, for 1 second they crash through into a dimension where it looks like they are fighting over Mustafar. This, of course, would be the lava planet where Anakin and Obi-Wan had their climactic battle in Revenge of the Sith, and where Darth Vader made his castle, which then gets seen in Secrets of the Empire and Rogue One and Vader Immortal. It's a blink and you'll miss it moment, really, but man, the screenshot that I took for the title card for this episode, it really captures it, and it sure does look like Vader's castle in the background. I mean, it is almost impossible to mistake it. The stuff that's around it seems like, yeah, that's not quite the same as what we're used to, because it looks like a really kind of flat plane around the castle when we see it in other Star Wars media, and it's not like that in this blink and you'll miss it moment in the What If episode. But the actual structure of the castle, man, I mean, it looks just like it. And apparently this is not the only Star Wars reference in the What If series. So there was an earlier episode where it proposed the idea that T'Challa became Star-Lord instead of, Star-Lord being Star-Lord, and that he was working at a Dairy Queen and never actually got sucked into space or anything like that. But anyway, When they visit the Collector in that episode, Benicio del Toro's character, yeah, so DJ in both. There are various things that the Collector has been storing, and in the background, maybe there's an X-Wing somewhere. It kind of looks like an S-foil of a sort, but the body of it is, I don't know, it doesn't look like it. And I've seen things online saying, oh yeah, and Howard the Duck is sitting at the bar from the cantina, from Chalum's Cantina in A New Hope. And yeah, I looked at that and like, yeah, maybe it looks like it's inspired by, but yeah, it's definitely not the cantina. So here's the thing. On the one hand, yeah, Kevin Feige can say there's never going to be a Star Wars Marvel crossover, and that's perfectly fine, even if they are kind of winking at it, hinting at it with things like, oh, maybe that's Mustafar in the What If series, right? But on the other hand, the actual concept of a multiverse and the fact that there are infinite possibilities that are playing out and they are infinitely branching as well, well, if you assume that that's logically the case, then you have to assume Star Wars is one of those universes, that there is a universe that creates Star Wars. And for that matter, a universe that creates Doctor Who and Star Trek and the Firefly Serenity universe and Babylon 5 and Stargate and every other science fiction franchise you want to consider. And it doesn't even have to be science fiction. I mean, it could be the Bronte sisters cinematic universe, right? That exists too, considering what the concept of the multiverse is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So yeah, all of that comes from just 1 second, literally 1 second. I didn't actually break it down to the, fractions of seconds or anything, but yeah, just rounding 1 second more or less in this Marvel What If episode. And if you want to check it out, again, it's 23 minutes and 18 seconds into the episode. And I'm sure that if you typed in Marvel What If Episode 8 Star Wars, you will find everything you want to read about it and more if you want to go beyond this episode of the show, which is at its end now. And so I just have to say, as usual, thank you so much for joining me for it, as always. And may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.